So I'm 19 and a half. I know what it's like being a teen. I've been through it all. And I can tell you right now that there is one thing that the large majority of teens do not understand that is keeping them from being rich. Let's get into it. Hey, what's up guys? Elmid here today to teach you how to be better with your money if you are a teen and how to be rich coming out of your teen years. Now, I should preface this by saying that when I say rich, I don't mean you're necessarily a 20-year-old millionaire, but you are ahead of 90%, honestly, possibly 95% of your peers out there, and you are set up very well for your 20s and your career ahead of you. So I've gotten the impression throughout my years as a teen that it's almost an expectation to be a broke teenager or a broke college student. In my opinion, this presents both a problem and a blessing. A problem in the sense that most people are programmed to think that they should be broke, and a blessing in the sense that that makes it so much easier for the few of us willing to rise above to be way above average and to become rich, even in our teens. In order to illustrate the point that I want to make to you today, I'm gonna give two different scenarios with Bob and Tim. So I wrote it out for you here. We got this guy, Bob, right? And he's got a great job down at the summer golf course, and he makes 10 grand per year, right? Not bad for a teenager. So Bob, at the end of his first year of working and making 10 grand, he buys himself new golf clubs, he buys himself 5 new pairs of shoes, and he buys himself a used car so his parents don't have to drive him to the golf course every day. Absolutely no problems with this, right? Okay, you just made your first large chunk of money in your life and you want to treat yourself and you need that used car. So the next summer he makes 12 grand, even more than he did last summer. He buys a new set of golf clubs again, a large Bluetooth speaker, and a slightly more expensive used car. He's got maybe $500 put away in savings between these two summers. Now that second summer right there is where either the problems get started or the magic starts happening. So now we're gonna look at another guy, Tim, who only makes 5 grand a year, working 30 hours a week, right? So he's not going full time, he's trying to enjoy himself a little bit. Like me, I can kind of be a little bit lazy out there. So Tim buys just a used car his first summer and has just enough left over to cover gas for most of the year, but he actually ends up having to borrow from his parents for some of the year to cover that gas. Tim didn't have nearly as much. All he could get was that new car. He doesn't have the new golf clubs. He doesn't have the new shoes, anything like that. So the next year, Tim makes 7 grand. He buys himself an ice cream cone, pays back his parents the gas money that he owed them, and puts 4 grand away into savings and investments accounts. So now he's got his used car, he's got his gas paid off, and he's got an ice cream cone. I mean, I'd take the ice cream cone over the new shoes any day. So when we look at the story, we can say, all right, obviously, Bob made more money, a lot more money. He made $10,000 more than Tim did across those 2 summers. And yet somehow, Tim came out on top. I know a lot of people around my age who have done both of these things, right? I know a guy who makes infinitely more money than me, but he spends it all. And he has a lot of payment plans actually on a lot of his stuff. I know people who have less expenses than me and make less than me, but they save what they can and they're fine and they're still ahead of most people. I also know a guy who makes a lot more than me who is smart and he saves what he can and invests what he can, and he is actually a lot more wealthy than me. So back to Bob and Tim, we're gonna see what happens when they grow up. Bob, he grows up and he becomes a businessman. Right out of college, he makes $100,000 a year. And the next year after that, he makes $120,000 a year. Wouldn't that be a wonderful world? But unfortunately, because he got in the habit of spending all of his money when he was a kid, he spends all his money now. And he's got a really nice car and he's got a pretty nice place in the suburbs, but only $5,000 in the bank. Tim, however, he makes $50,000 his first year, right out of college, and makes 70 grand his second year out of college, which is still pretty darn good, right? Tim's put in the work and he's got a good job and a $20,000 pay raise in his first year. Not only does he save money his second year like he did when he was a kid, but he understands that the cost of living does not have to go up with the income. So he ends up living on $50 a year, and I'm not necessarily taking tax into account, but we'll even say that he included taxes in that $50,000 a year. He ends up saving $20,000 over the course of those 2 years. And he's putting that money into various savings and personal projects and investments that are gonna pay off down the road for him. So the story of Tim and Bob when they're grown up mirrors that of when they were kids, when they were teenagers, just like me, just like you may be right now. So this lesson, it can be summed up into one single phrase, and that is, it is not how much you make, it is how much you keep. So most people know that keeping your money is not on paper a very difficult thing to do, but in practice, the discipline of it is incredibly difficult. Almost no one can do it in our modern society. If people do not budget and don't specifically command every dollar has to go to a very specific place, they will not save. That money will go out somehow. It always does. That is how it has worked as long as people have been managing money and as long as people have been making budgets. The money has to be planned for. That's why it's so important to incorporate a planning of your money set aside for yourself to keep, to do with as you wish, to pay yourself first. Frugality is in the habit, not necessarily the material. Frugality does not mean I can't go get myself a nice mug and a nice cup of tea or cup of coffee once in a while, but it means that the big stuff, the stuff that I truly do not need or can delay the gratification of having, that is the stuff that I have to exercise the discipline and the self-control to not buy and to keep that money and be smart with it and pay myself first. This is especially easy for teens to do because most of us don't really have that many expenses across our teen years. A lot of us are still living at home, eating the food that mom and dad put in front of us, and sometimes even getting rides around in the car and possibly getting our own car. I understand for some it is difficult depending on life circumstances. I know some friends who had to pay rent when they were in their teens, who had to move out when they were teens, and that's definitely difficult. The word of encouragement to you is that if you can get over that and still manage your money and manage your life, you will be stronger than any of us because of what you've had to overcome compared to the large majority of us teens out there. So a word to all the teens and even most of the young people out here is treat your money, and especially the money that could be excess money, like it is a privilege, and allocate it properly. Take advantage of that. We have to be smart with our money now so we can have the freedom later. Having this wisdom is not only beneficial for us down the road, but it can benefit our family and the families of countless others who we can impact with our resources because we make the right decisions and the right choices now. Buy your time. Buy the future. The future is the most important thing. It is what comes after now. Having the self-control to rein in your money and rein in your desires and know that what comes tomorrow is more important than today will cause you to be more successful than 95% of the teens, the young people, and just about everyone out there. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please subscribe to the channel and go check out the other stuff we got on the channel because there should be a lot of good stuff out and a lot of good stuff coming your way soon. With that though, I would like to thank you very much for watching this episode, and I will see you over in the next one.